His Excellency Sri Rajnath Singh, Home Minister of India, His Excellency Sri Suresh Prabhu, Minister of Commerce and Industry, Sri Manohar Lal Khattar, Honorable Chief Minister of Haryana, Sri Jayanti Sinha Ji, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored to represent my government and my country for this 14th edition of Counter-Terrorism Conference being held in Delhi. 4 years since its start, this flagship event has evolved into an important platform for security analysts, policymakers, intelligence experts, intellectuals, media persons, and other knowledgeable stakeholders to deliberate on how we, as individual societies and collectively, as the global communities, are going to tackle terrorism, which has undoubtedly been one of the most pervasive threats to peace and prosperity. Thank you, India Foundation, for being the architect of this important process. Thank you also for inviting me to be its part and providing an opportunity to share some of my humble thoughts. I have to extend my sincere solidarity to your endeavor, and on this I bring with me the best wishes of my Prime Minister, K.P. Sharma Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal. Distinguished participants, terrorism is a menace not confined to a particular society, country, or a region. It is a global problem, permitting all sorts of boundaries and leaving everyone to be affected in one way or the other. No society is, in fact, new to incidents of terrorist bombing, target killing, assassinations, and other forms of violence. Terrorist barbaric acts have not spared even innocent children in schools or unarmed civilians gathered for prayers and festivals. Terrorism has been the cause of mass displacement of people at many places. Our generation has seen the extremes of all these sorts of barbarism. Terrorism doesn't only cause destruction of lives and properties, it seeks to uproot the very foundation of our human values and civilization. It seeks to forsake love and embrace hatred, fear and brutality, shatter hope and spread horror and bleakness. It disturbs society's progress, countries' development, and humanity's integrity and sense of ingenuity and sense of fraternity. Terrorism has resulted in the unnecessary burden of billions of dollars of resources of governments as fight against terrorism, and which has been a very costly venture. This precious resource could have otherwise gone for development works and reduced extreme poverty, which is the major problem in South Asia in particular. As said, terrorism is not a new phenomenon. Well, its manifestation and its tools and techniques might have evolved with change in the technology and pattern of lives. Its magnitude may have scaled up, but the underlying nature, character, and intent of terrorism have remained the same. We all have converged on the view that terrorism is an evil to be uprooted, but when it comes to taking required measures and resolute execution, the strength of our convergence has somehow dispelled, and we have at times faltered. Distinguished participants, like rest of the world, terrorist violence is a key security challenge faced by our region too. The activities of larger network of terrorist organizations at global scale and their reported expansion in Asia-Pacific region demands extreme vigilance on our part to counter the threats and to ensure the security of our people in this region. With technological advancement, our capacity to tackle security threats has, of course, increased, but so has our vulnerability. In an age of cyberspace and internet exposure, terrorists do have new avenues and target points to victimize us and to disrupt our lives. Terrorist networks are trying to spread their wings all over the world, but we must be able to nab them and dismantle them. Acts of terrorism cannot be condoned. No pretext, be it political, ideological, or any other, can justify such senseless and horrific acts. It is of utmost importance that law enforcing machineries in all the countries cooperate and collaborate in identifying terrorists and defeating terrorism. We all must, in a united and unreserved manner, demonstrate commitment at the highest level to stop terrorist acts and bring perpetrators to justice. Dear colleagues, in this age of inevitable interconnectedness, mobility of people around the world is a reality. Safety, security, and welfare of every individual is our common responsibility and humanity's common concern. In this age of human mobility, impacts of terrorism can break the confines of our boundary. We should therefore be cognizant of the transnational nature of terrorism and should counter it resolutely with national, regional, and global actions and enhanced capabilities and sense of responsibility. Every country should have a stringent legislative framework to deter and disrupt all types of terrorist activities. Between governments and law enforcement agencies, close coordination and cooperation must be ensured, including the intelligence and technology sharing to enhance counterterrorism capability of ourselves. Legislative measures should be contemplated by proper counter-terrorist strategies that include tools to detect incidents of radicalization, possible recruitment for foreign terrorist fighters, exploitation of internet and social media platforms by terrorist organizations, misuse of borders, terrorist financing. Radicalization through social media is a rising threat. Cybersecurity should very much be our priority focus in this respect. We need to enhance our capacity to monitor and counter such activities as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Nepal unequivocally condemns terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, wherever, whenever, and for whatever purpose it occurs and wherever commits and the heinous acts. Nepal never allows its land to be exploited by any group trying to carry out terrorist activities anywhere in our region or beyond. We have underscored time and again that terrorism should never be used as a means to serve any interest. As a member of the United Nations, SAARC and BMSTEC, Nepal has joined and implemented international and regional treaties on counterterrorism, including on aircraft safety, maritime safety, against tackling hostages, as well as the UN Security Council resolutions. Nepal remains fully committed to implementing them despite constraints of resources and technical capabilities. Within SAARC, Nepal has a notable track record of supporting the region's collective undertaking against terrorism. The region's first framework treaty in this regard, namely SAARC Convention on Suppression of Terrorism, was the outcome of third summit which Kathmandu had hosted. This, together with the 2006 additional protocol obliged number states to cooperate each other through consultations, exchange of information, intelligence, and expertise, and other measures to prevent terrorism, terrorist activities, as well as to criminalize financial support to terrorism. This anti-terrorism regime of SAARC has been complemented by SAARC Convention on Mutual Legal Assistance. In addition, SAARC member states have been cooperating on security matters through regular meetings at the level of Home Ministers, Home Secretaries, SAARC Terror Offensive Monitoring Desk, and SAARC Drug Offense Monitoring Desk. BMSTEC has served as another important regional platform for us to act together on terrorism. In 2009, BMSTEC member states entered into the Convention on Cooperation in Combating International Terrorism, Transnational Organized Crime, and Illicit Drug Trafficking. Likewise, BMSTEC Convention on Mutual Assistance in Criminal Matters has also been adopted, requiring cooperation among member states in investigation and prosecution of crimes, including terrorism, drug and human trafficking, money laundering, cyber crimes, and other transnational crimes. Nepal has initiated process of ratifying both these instruments. Within BIMSTEC, meeting of National Security Advisors has now been institutionalized in addition to the already functioning Joint Working Group on Counterterrorism, providing a platform for regional cooperation in the areas of intelligence sharing and law enforcement, drug and human trafficking. I wish to recall in this context that the important Goa retreat of BIMSTEC, wherein our leaders conveyed a strong and unequivocal message against terrorism, against any kind of support to or glorification of terrorists. Distinguished participants, where is my own country in terms of national capacity and preparedness against terrorism then? We have enhanced security infrastructures, trained security personnel, so as to remain prepared to meet the emerging social demands, including prevention of any form of terrorist attack. Security wings are updated on the new forms of technology, and we have made efforts to provide them with required international exposure. In compliance with our international obligations on terrorist financing, we have established several institutions and agencies, including the Financial Intelligence Unit and the Department of Anti-Money Laundering under the Money Laundering Prevention Act. They are central national agencies assigned with the task of detecting, processing, and analyzing financial information and intelligence on suspected money laundering and terrorist financing activities, sharing suspicious cases to law enforcement authorities, and carrying forward investigation as well as prosecution. Nepal is fully committed to comply with the global norms of AML-CFT and prevent any kind of financial transaction that helps any kind of terrorism. Finally, distinguished participants, we must accept that terrorism is not new to us and none of us is immune to it. Terrorism has Frankenstein that kills your people today and may kill mine in future, because terrorism, as said, doesn't know boundary and is not guided by humanity and fraternity. It can be nobody's friend, and if we think otherwise, it is our grave illusion. And as long as terrorists continue to reveal in their monstrous chance in our territories, the world cannot be peaceful and secure. And as long as there is no peace and security, fulfilling our development goals will remain distant dream, whether we call them the Sustainable Development Goals or any other goals that we are all committed in the post-2015 Global Development Agenda. Our future, therefore, will depend on how resolutely we devise our collective mission to uproot terrorism from the world, and how concertedly we calibrate our collective actions and intent. It will depend on how soon we will be prepared to tear the veil of your terrorist is my freedom fighter sort of mentality and say with no ambiguity that terrorists are everyone's terrorist. The moment we free ourselves from this illusion, we will no more be disagreeing, for example, in the United Nations on the long-pending Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism. I do hope that this event will turn out to be yet another effort in that direction of collective convergence. On its part, Nepal will resolutely join hands with all countries in countering scourge of senseless acts of terrorism. I once again thank India Foundation for giving me and our government this opportunity to share our thoughts with the distinguished audience. I would also like to thank the Government of India for its gracious hospitality and warm welcome. We look forward to very fruitful discussion ahead in this important forum. Thank you. Thank you very much once again.